In this extreme cold weather, my son and I decided to make a winter shelter. Here you can see the basic structure. It's kind of an improvised tipi design. We didn't use any rope or anything to hold it together. We kind of just locked the pieces of wood in place and then wrapped a tarp around it. Now I did secure the tarp with a little bit of rope, and this is a tarp you're going to find that normally covers like a big huge pile of 2x4s at like a factory or something like that. And then I did have a canvas tarp that I put on top. This view is from the inside, and you can see it's holding up pretty well. The tarp itself has a bunch of holes in it, but I'm not really too concerned because I have my outdoor makeshift fireplace where you can cook on top and keep things warm on that little ledge there, and then obviously have the fire inside. With this, I wanted to have my makeshift fireplace inside just to provide more heat, and have the teepee design so that all the smoke would go out the top. I wanted to play around with this and see how it would work, and it actually worked pretty well. I'm pretty surprised at it, and it was very windy that day. I would say 15 to 20 mile an hour wind or more.
Well, we're in our little winter shelter here, keeping it nice and warm. I don't know how much you can see. It's just a bunch of sticks and logs with a plastic tarp and a canvas tarp over top. It's not snowing out or anything, but with the fire going, it's keeping it pretty warm in here. We'll be nice and toasty, right?
Yeah.
Well, we were able to go for a nice night walk in the woods, and we saw a couple deer, right?
Yeah.
Your eyes can pick up a lot more light than the camera can, so this shot really does not do it justice for what it really was like out there.
Here, I found some footprints.
Yep. Camera couldn't really capture it, but it was nice out. Bright enough for us to see, and now it's time to warm up, drink some water, maybe cook a hot dog or a marshmallow or two. Nice fun little night.
Oh, and we have made a fire in like the cold. We made like a little bear. Like I don't know what it's called, but anyways, we just made it and perfect. We just found some sticks, broke it up, and we just made a fire.
Yep.
With a lighter too.
Yep, we did it the easy way.
And of course, I'm just a good boy, so I don't touch lighters, knives, guns, whatever. I don't touch that. I know you didn't.
I just wanted to give my little 300 lumen flashlight a test and see how well it lit up the night. Earlier in the day, when I started my journey into the woods behind my house, there was about 5 bucks or so that, were standing around and doing the Buckley thing that they do. There was one buck that was standing there all proud, just like you would see in a painting or something like that, almost like that guy is now. And then there's about 4 doe or something like that were bedded down, and as I was walking closer, they all shot up and ran, and white tails in the distance, signaling everybody else to get out of Dodge. But this guy, as I got to the middle of the woods, and I wasn't quiet out there because to my knowledge all the deer had shot up and ran. This guy shoots up, looks at me. Now, he's upwind of me, so he can't smell me, so I freeze. I know that his vision isn't that great, and if I make any type of a movement, he's going to bolt. And I'm trying to reach for my phone that's in my shirt pocket. It took me about 20-25 minutes for me to get my phone out and start recording. And then this guy decided to start circling around me, trying to get downwind of me so he could smell me. Now, if you guys have had any interaction with deer or watched any documentaries on Netflix or anything like that, deer do some interesting things. They do their little stompy stomp thing, they do their snorting thing, and then they hightail it out there, showing their white tails, giving a signal to anybody else or any other deer that's out there that there's danger here and you need to run. But it's something interesting watching these animals out there, especially an interaction like this where this guy was coming close to me. And there's only a couple other times where I've actually had a deer, a young buck like this one, follow me home. He was snorting at me the whole way, but he followed me home. And that's a little odd. I mean, usually they don't do that. And around by me, I don't feed the deer. Nobody else, to my knowledge, feeds the deer. So to have human interaction with these deer, I don't think it usually happens. It's not like it's a park or anything like that where people go and feed the animals and such. But the bigger point I'm trying to make here is, how often do you get to go out in the woods and experience nature? How often are you outside practicing your skills? How often are you inside, sitting there with a length of paracord, practicing some knots and different ways to tie your tent down and stuff like that? How often are you practicing this stuff? You watch videos on YouTube, but are you going a step further and watching and then learning and then practicing and retaining this knowledge? Now, during the winter, I try to get out there at least once a weekend, and I find it more enjoyable to have a fire during the winter. There's a little bit more of a challenge to it, and more of a challenge to stay warm, definitely, and obviously there's no bugs out there, so I try to get out there as much as I can during the winter. It's just more enjoyable having a fire when it's cold out versus having a fire, during the middle of the summer when it's warm out. So my point is, get out there and practice your skills. Practice making a shelter. What would it take? I have the basic knowledge of what it would take to make a winter shelter, but what does it actually take to do that? What does it actually take to construct something to keep out the cold wind and everything like that, and keep in the heat that you're creating with your fire or whatever? You find very quickly the holes in your shelter. You find out very quickly where that wind is coming through and giving you that chill. And you got to keep in mind, you got to keep some holes open just to have proper air circulation. You want to make sure that smoke's going out the top and everything like that, that you're not going to, have, carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that. Or have your whole shelter burned down because it was too close to the fire. Now, when we made this shelter, my son and I, it got to the point where it was nice and toasty in there, and he actually fell asleep. We're laying on the snow on a piece of cardboard next to the fire, and he fell asleep. I had to literally drag him out and take him back inside because we weren't planning on spending the night out there, especially in the frigid temperatures we've been having. It's been -11, and then with the wind chill, -33. I mean, that's crazy temperatures to go out there and test ideas out, and then to test it out all day long. I have to stop and mention this deer right now. He's doing his little stompy stomp dance. He knows me. He can smell me. He's not that far away. I'm using, a camera phone and there's no zoom on it. He's doing his little stompy stomp. He's smelling in the air, and he's snorting a little bit. The only thing he didn't do was hightail it out of there. Usually they do their stompy stomp. They snort, and then they turn and run with their tails up in the air. All three signals that they're giving to the other deer that are in the area that there's danger and they need to get out of there. They don't like what they smell, they don't like what they see, and they're going. Now, as far as I know, deer, they don't have the best eyesight. Really good noses, really good hearing, but not the best eyesight. And this guy, he just I thought he was going to come closer. I was trying to get him to come closer to me. I mean, that would have been awesome if he walked right up to me. And I don't know if you can really see, but he is a young buck. He's only got one antler. His other one already shed. And unfortunately, I didn't find any sheds yet. The other bucks that I saw still had all their antlers on them. So we're going to have to keep a lookout for those. But back to the point. You need to get out there. You need to practice your skills. You need to know how to make a fire and at least have that confidence behind it that you can make a fire. Even if it is just making a fire in good conditions. And then once in a while you get out there during bad conditions, during the rain, or having a bunch of wet tinder and wet wood and what it takes to make that fire. And don't think that you just have to make a fire with tinder and a ferro rod. No, you want to have all the little tricks and skills in the back of your head so you can make a fire successfully when you need to. I'm not going to lie, there's no shame in it. The fire that I made here, I took a piece of tin foil, made a little tray with the tin foil, and then poured a little bit of fuel in it. And I mean just a little bit. Lit the fuel with a lighter, and it lit my whole fire up. I mean, when else am I going to practice something like that? I don't want to do that when the time is really necessary to do it. I want to get that skill learned beforehand so I know what to expect, just in case I ever really had to be in a situation like that and do something like that. So that's the only way it's going to happen, is if you get out there and practice this stuff. It's no different with anything else that you're trying to learn, whether it be some sort of martial arts skill or shooting or archery or something like that, or even fishing. You got to get out there and do it. You got to practice any type of a skill to get better at it. You got to read up and learn from other people to further yourself with that skill. So get out there, learn to start campfires, learn to tie knots, all that type of stuff. Have the basic idea of what it takes to build a shelter, what it takes to collect all that wood and put it together and construct it together and tie it together and keep it, you know, together during high winds and all that other stuff. You know, I mean, you have to get out there and do this stuff. Learn what it takes to walk a couple miles in the snow or just hike a couple miles with a backpack on your back, what it physically is going to be like. Unless you're out there all the time and you're just watching these videos on YouTube, you don't really know. So my whole point is, gotta get out there. Have to get out there and get into nature and practice these skills. And you might come across something like this, where it just makes the experience so much more enjoyable to stand there and watch this deer for a good 40 minutes. And then unfortunately, my battery cuts out. So that's where I'm going to cut out now. I thank you guys for watching. Definitely share this video with your friends. Like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Thank you guys again.